I'm sure we've all experienced the feeling of all 86 billion of our brain cells decaying as we binge watch Skibbity Toilet. It's an exaggeration, but can it actually happen? Well, today I'm going to be answering that question and whether or not your bloodline is cooked. So stick around and enjoy the show. So for those of you who somehow don't know what brain rot is, you have been blessed. Until now, brain rot isn't a medical condition. It's a term. It's where you go on the internet and absorb large amounts of randomness and stupidity. Anything from this to this.
Sticking out your yacht for the Rizzler. You're so skibbity. You're so phantom tax. I just wanna be your Sigma. Freaking come here. Give me your Ohio.
Thus causing your brain to want to kill itself from sheer stupidity. So with that out of the way, to answer the question of whether brain rot can make your brain rot, we first need to understand the brain. The brain is made up of a lot of fat and protein, but it's the neurons that we're focusing on because those have that sweet, juicy brain function. So what is a neuron? Neurons are special cells that can send information to a brain to be processed, and these are important for each and every single one of your body's functions, like growing hair, getting new blood cells, moving, sensing, blinking. So having more neurons can allow you to do these processes more quickly and efficiently. But if the neuron isn't allowed to communicate with other neurons or send information to a brain, then it loses its functionality. And if they lose their function, it gets even harder to remember things and help with all of the body's functions and processes. So for your brain to actually develop, you have to do certain things that force your brain to work, like learning new skills, getting active, or reading a book, like an actual human being. And it's a common misconception that technology is overall bad for your brain, but it actually isn't. It's how you use it that decides that. Like, I'm all sure we've all heard our mom say,
"It's because that damn League of Legends game why you got cancer."
In the case of League of Legends, that might actually be true. But a lot of studies have shown that playing games actually helps to increase brain matter because games force you to problem solve, use hand-eye coordination, make decisions, and force you to confront problems that weren't even there in the first place. Things that don't allow your brain to develop is sitting alone all day with your phone in your hand, going through reels that have useless information constantly. So imagine the valuable information and development your mushy brain can get from watching Skibbity Toilet and Grimace Shake for 6 hours per day. All the rich history, insight, and the lore. Well, too bad for you, but watching baby Gronkers up Livy Dunn in Ohio does nothing for your brain. If anything, it'll turn your brain into the size of a walnut. I'm not kidding. A study of children ages 8 to 12 showed that there was decreased neuron connections between regions that controlled word recognition, language, and cognitive control. Even more studies prove that Gen Alpha's brains are getting smaller, with their cerebellum shrinking. For reference, that's the thing that gives you the motor function to drown yourself after you watch a brain rot video. It's not just kids though, because none of us are safe from phantom tax. Because even in adults, too much skibbity can shorten the part of your brain that allows you to pay attention. And considering that upwards of 60% of the world's population uses social media, and the fact that we're spending 3 times the recommended amount on screen time, we're kinda cooked. Speaking of cooked, remember how I said your bloodline might end and that the current generation is going to turn into a dystopia where they only pray to a god Skibbity and the Skibbity gods will drench our world in blood? Well, there's this thing called the prefrontal cortex, and that's shrinking too. If you don't know, the cortex is this small thing with very little significance. It only controls your memory, thought, reasoning, decision-making, emotions, intelligence, and responses in social situations. You know, nothing too big. And I know that says kids who have a screen time of 7 hours are more at risk of this. But see, kids 8 to 18 have a screen time of 7.5 hours on average. So this applies to all of them. So with that shrinking, you can say bye-bye to your bloodline, because as soon as your kid goes up to any human of the female gender, their brain might actually start malfunctioning. Just like me, except my brain isn't shrinking. I'm just afraid of women. So there you have it. Your brain can't rot. It'll just shrink from consuming hours upon hours of brain rot. Guaranteeing that the current generation will bow and worship at the Skibbity God's feet, and that your children will never, ever feel the touch of a woman in their lifetime.